Hello everybody, WYN here again for another video in our tutorial series on how to exploit in Roblox. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to use Fire Touch Interest to interact with objects in the game that you normally would have to touch to be able to use. In today's tutorial, we'll be doing this function or using this function on the speeding simulator type game to try to grab all these orbs without actually touching them. Thanks for joining the channel. Please remember to like and subscribe if you like this video, and let's get started. So if we look at the Synapse X documentation for Fire Touch Interest, it takes a few commands, and let me try to explain what this does. So the first command is the part. Now the part here is the part that we want to touch the object with, and so in our case, it's going to be our player character. It's going to be apart from them. Typically, I just use the head, but you could use probably any part on the player. And the next thing is what we want it to touch. Now, there are objects in the game that have children that are known as touch interests. And these types of objects basically have an event attached to them to when they are touched by another part, and sometimes it's very specific which part, but when they're touched by a part, that event gets fired and something happens. So in the game we'll be working on, that event essentially is to collect an orb once it's been touched. And then lastly, there's a toggle. So you can toggle this on and off. And what that simply means is not toggling on the functionality, but it's toggling your touch. And so a 0 means you're touching it, a 1 means you're not touching it. So there's sometimes you don't want to just sit on an object forever. You need to be able to get on it and then move off it. Think of things like parkour games, where if you just sat on one spot, you're not going to get credit until you move off of it. So you want to toggle between 0 and 1, and I'll show you how to do all of that. So let's first go ahead and jump right into the game, and let me show you what happens. You see these little orbs moving around. If I run up to one and grab it, I get XP points, and I'm assuming you use XP points to rebirth to make you faster. Lots of orbs just spinning around, and they sometimes disappear. So the first thing I need to do is I need to find out which of these, if any, have a touch interest assigned to them. So I'm going to open up Synapse here, and I'm going to go ahead and use Script Hub and open Dark Decks, which we explained how to use in a video already. Going to open that up. All right, now easiest way to do that is just on the Explorer search bar up here. I'm just going to type touch and press enter. And this is what we're looking for. So if you see this square with these 4 green arrows pointing in each corner, and it says touch interest, that means the object this is attached to, which in this case is just called part, has a touch applied to it, or a touch event applied to it. So I want to see what happens when we interact with these. But first, let's make sure we're looking at the right thing. So I'm going to click on one of the parts and just go ahead and teleport to it and see if it actually takes us to an orb. Teleport to, bam, yep, that was an orb. Once I jumped on it, my feet touched it, so I was able to collect it. I also noticed that I didn't have to move off it for it to collect. Just being on top of it is fine. So you could just teleport to all these, create a loop into this folder, and teleport to all these parts to touch them. But I want to try to do this without even moving, without teleporting at all, and see if we can collect them. So I've already written some of this up in code, but we're just going to start fresh. So the first thing I want to do is I want to copy the path to this location because it's going to make it easier for me to write this script. And so I'm just going to go ahead and select one of these touch interests. This one's probably not going to be valid anymore since I've already teleported to it. It's probably since disappeared. That's fine. All right, what we'll do is we will just use this orbs folder. I'm going to right click on the orbs folder, copy path. I'm going to go in Visual Studio, do a new file, select language. Let's do Lua, Lua. All right, so a couple things I want to do first. First, I want to define the part that I want to touch it. So I'm going to create that. We'll call this local player head equals game dot players dot local player dot character dot head. All right, so this should be the player's head. All right, next we're going to define the folder that we want to loop through. In fact, we'll just go ahead and do the loop that way. So we'll say for IV, so once again, in a loop, that typically stands for index and value. In this case, we don't really need the index, but we're going to write it up anyways. For IV in pairs, now I'm going to paste that path I just copied in. So I'm going to Control V to paste. So it's the workspace folder, orbs, level, orb, spawner, orbs. And then here you want to do, normally you would do get children to get the children of this folder. However, I want to use get descendants, and I'll explain what that is in a second. So get descendants, do, and end. So we'll just get our basic loop set up. So get descendants, what that does, let me go back into the game. Instead of it just finding the first object, so if we did get children, it'd find these models, 25 coins orb, 25 XP orb, and so on, but it wouldn't find all these other children of these models. We'd have to create multiple loops to do that. So what get descendants does is it actually pulls all of these into one loop. And so we'll be able to see if something is a touch interest or if it's a part, anything we want to do. So get descendants is a little more robust, yet it's also more taxing on your loop. So you don't want to use it in every scenario. We want to use it here because I don't want to have to actually figure out what the names of these models are and then identify if it has a child that has another child that's a touch interest. So get descendants just finds everything under that folder structure, or if you put it against a model or part, everything within that model or part. All right, so now that we have this, so the first thing we want to do is see if we've actually found something that is a touch interest. Now, they're all named touch interest here, so we'll just check the name. But a better way to do this is probably to look at the class name. So to check if the class name of the value is a touch interest. But just keep things simple for the moment. Let's just check the name. So if v.name double equals, remember that's a comparative operator to see if something is equal to something else, is equal, and I'm going to put quotes, touch interest, so that's the name we're looking for. Then, now, here is where we will fire the touch event. All right, so once again, we got our player up here. We found a touch interest. Now, a touch interest is always parented to a part. An extra check we can do in here is just make sure the parent is valid. So if v.name equals touch interest and v.parent, then we'll fire this. So all that's showing us or telling the code is that if the name of the descendant that we're looking at is a touch interest and it has a parent, so just doing this implies that it's not nil or null, so the parent exists, then we want to do something here. So once again, what we could do here is go ahead and teleport to the part, knowing that the parent is always a part in this case, or once again, we could do something a little bit more slick and try to not touch them at all. So once again, let's go back over to the Synapse documentation. Oop, wrong one. Here we go. So the command, I'm just going to copy this in here. We're going to go back to our code, paste it in. So it's fire touch interest. So the instance of a part is what we want to touch with. So in this case, it's our player head that we set up here. So player head. The next is the part we want to touch. So remember, we're looping through the descendants. So you might think just put v, but no, that's actually the touch interest. We would need to do v.parent, because if we look back in the game here and you see the touch interest, once again, it's parented to the part. So the part is actually what gets touched, not this. This is an event that gets fired when this part is touched. So we don't want to touch this thing. We want to touch the part. So we're going to use our head to touch the parent of the touch interest, which is a part, so v.parent. and then we want to toggle it. If you remember, 0 is on, 1 is off. So we'll do 0. Now, if we wanted to do an off, which we don't really need to because I think we just saw that just landing on it worked, you can put a short wait command like, I don't know, 0, 1 maybe, or probably even less than that. And then we're going to copy the same exact fire touch interest command above and change the 0 to a 1. So what happens is you touch it, you wait for a tenth of a second, and then you get off it. That's exactly what this is doing right here. All right, we'll go ahead and leave that on. Now, what I want to do is test it just for 1. And so I'm going to break out of this loop if it works. So we're going to see if it works. All right, let's copy this code. I'm going to go back into the game. Just the window. Up. Paste it in. Let's see. And no, of course not. Let's see if we got an error. Yep. All right. So line 5, user data instance expected. All right. So let's check that out. It's line 5. So player head is the problem here. What did I do wrong? Game.player is a local player. Character. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's this. Go to the output. Oh, I had a typo. It's player with head with a capital H. I had it lowercase here. All right, we got it fixed now. All right, let's close all this and try this again. All right, I collected something. You saw that come up? Remember, I put a break command in here, so it's only going to do 1 at a time now. There we go. Got another one. Another one. Every time I hit execute, I keep collecting them. All right, let's get rid of the break command and see if this thing goes crazy. You know what? Let's get rid of this wait and see if we can make it faster. Go. Oh, no, I guess it does need the wait. Let's try. There we go. So now I'm collecting all the orbs that were in the workspace. All right, and well, within this one folder in the workspace, we looked at, once again, this folder here called orbs under level 00 orb. There's probably a lot of additional folders. There are, we just passed one. There's probably more folders within this that we're not even looking at. So if you want to collect them all, we could even go up another level here. See if this does anything. There we go. Now we're getting all of them, I think. Quite a few of them. All right, now ultimately what's going to happen is that this code's going to stop running once all of the orbs are cleared out of the workspace. So once we've touched them all, it's going to stop. So what you probably want to do for your GUI is put this into a loop so you can know exactly or continue to restart it once all the orbs have been collected. So let's go back to our code for a second and we'll make a couple updates. First, I'm going to fix player head because it should be capitalized there. There we go. All right, so let's create a toggle for it. Once again, we're going to use get gnv to set our toggle. So we'll do get gnv dot collect orbs toggle equals true. So we're going to set it to true. And then we're going to create a spawn function. So spawn function. And now what this is going to do is allow us to run this simultaneously with any other code that we may want to run in the game. So by the way, all I did here is I created the spawn function, which this is the simple format for a spawn. It's function. Spawn function, you have an end at the end. I'm just pasting the code we made right into it. All right, now let's do this. Let's do while wait do, we're going to put it end at the very end for that wait statement. And I'm just going to highlight this stuff and hit tab to indent it correctly in Visual Studio Code. So while wait, let's just keep replacing this or keep doing this. Now, you don't really need, you probably want your player head outside of the wait command, so it's not trying to reestablish this each iteration. Now, if the toggle is off, we want to break out of it. And so I'm going to copy the toggle here and say, if not this collect orbs toggle, then break end. And then these semicolons I keep using, by the way, is just habit from programming in C-style languages. It's not required in Lua. You don't need to have a semicolon at the end of your statements, but it doesn't hurt if you do have them either. So keep them, remove them, whatever you like. All right, so now basically we have a loop created that is going to repeat this statement on every iteration. So first it's going to check if the toggle is active. If it is not set to true, so it's false or it's null, then it's going to break out of this loop and the spawn function will end. So essentially toggling it off, turning it off. Now while this is toggled on, it's going to keep searching the workspace and fire this command for every touch interest we've located. And once again, I'm just going to back up to the orbs folder to try to collect everything. And one last thing I will probably do here, once we've collected all the orbs, we might want to add an additional weight in so it doesn't lag, but let's just see. Let's just run it like this and see how it works. So I'm going to paste it into, oops, oh, I've got some error here. Let's see what this is saying. Expected. Line was that? Oh, you know what? I forgot to put my braces and or my parentheses for function. All right, that should do it. Here we go. All right, going back into the game, going to execute, then there we have it. It's gonna sit there and just keep collecting. Not sure if we rebirth. Sure you want to sure how that works. But I'm definitely running faster. You can see the experience going up and we're just standing here. All right, well, that's it for Fire Touch Interest. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. One last comment I'll make is that you can use this for even interacting with things like teleports if they have a touch interest or any other object in the game. Once again, just look in Dex for touch, search for that, see if you find it, and if so, you should be able to use this. Now, one other additional tip, if it doesn't work, some games will have additional protection on the event that's being fired. So instead of not just touching the event, but sometimes it also requires firing a remote, which we've covered in another video that you can watch. Or it might have some other type of server-side detection where it's checking your actual character's distance from the object when it's been touched. So if you're far away from it, yet you spoof it into thinking that you've touched the object, but you're really not there, it still would not register. So while this worked for the game we're on now, sometimes it won't, and you have no other option but to actually teleport to the object. All right, well, thanks again, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and I'll just sit here AFK and continue to collect all these steps and XPs or whatever this game is, and I forgot the name. I'm sorry. All right, take care, everyone.